So I'm going to talk you through the PhiX PS Configurator, how you can use Agentforce Revenue Management, RCA, for quoting service type jobs. So I'm in an account NeuroVanta Technologies. This company buy data center equipment as they produce AI technology. So I've created an opportunity for them in sales, and it's the Chicago Data Center Project. And within the Chicago Data Center Project, I've created a quote. So let's navigate into our quote. And here we can see configure project. So this is where we're going to start to configure the project. Now we've got 3 templates that have been set up already. We have the Express build, which is a 4-phase, 7-week project. We have a standard implementation, which is a typical 25-week delivery project. And then we have an enterprise project, or we can actually start from blank. I'm going to choose the 7 phases, 25-week. So once I click on this then allows me to actually select our resources. So I'm just going to select all of the resources for this one. And on the right-hand side, you can see the hourly rate for those resources. So like I said, I can select them one at a time, or I can select them all. Let's now add them into our project. So here we can see we've got the resources with their rates, and down the left, we have the different phases of the project. So we've got a planning phase, which lasts for a week. We can expand that. And this is where we can start adding hours per resource. We've got a discovery phase, which lasts 3 weeks. I could actually change that to be a 2-week discovery phase. And that updates there. Or I could change that to be a 4-week discovery phase. And that will also update. Let's close that. What we can also see here at the top is we are able to expand these all. So let's just expand. So that you can see that 4-week discovery phase, 3-week design. We've got 10 weeks at build. UAT is 4 weeks, go live 2 weeks, and then hypercare 2 weeks. You may notice these percentages here, and that's where we're going to do a fixed price billing. But we can also change it to be time and materials only or hybrid. Now, if we choose time and materials, at a later point, we can start to add in time cards against the project and be able to bill against them. But that's something I'll come on to a little bit later. For this project, I'm going to choose hybrid. And this is where we get the percentage of the billing. So if it's a fixed price milestone billing, here we can see the milestone billing amount that's going to be invoiced after my design phase. Then after the build phase, we can see 60% is going to be billed. Okay, so we need to start adding some hours now for resources. So what we can do is our project manager, we're going to add in 40 hours. For our architect, we're going to add in 8 hours for that planning week. Then we're going to move on to the discovery. So our project manager is going to have 40. And actually, I know the project manager is going to be 40 hours full-time on this project as we go along. So what I can do is add in 40 hours there, and I can fill this to all of the phases. That's now copied all the way down. The same thing I can then do for the architect. The architect is going to be 40 hours, and we can fill that all the way down as well. Our lead developer is not going to come on until our build phase. So we're just going to add in 40 hours. It's there. And what we can do now is we can start to apply that across all resources for each of the different phases. So again, I'm just now speeding up the time that it takes to complete this resource. Okay, so I've now got a fully staffed project. What we can see is we've got the milestone adds up to 100%. That's great. The net total is just over 1 million. We've got 4,208 hours, and our gross margin is 503. We've got a margin percentage of 50%. What I can do is I can start changing these if my role allows me. So let's say, for example, we know this is slightly high for this region, so we can add the project manager rate as 225 an hour. Here we see exactly that the rate was 250, it's now been reduced to 225. Let's go for the architect, let's put that in as 300. All the time we're doing this, we're seeing is the net totals being updated, but also our gross margin is being updated as well. Let's change this one to 150. And we could not always put prices down. We may want to say, actually, we want this developer to be billed at 190. And this lead developer is, we're going to say that's 230. So as you can see, everything I do as through part of this, I'm updating the quote values, the margin, and the net total. Let's now save this to our quote. What this also does in the background, and I'll come on to that in a moment, is we've also got these project phases right here. So let's go and have a look at one of those project phases. So in the project phases, here we can see planning, we can see the duration of that phase and the number of hours, the total value for that, and we can break down the margin per phase total as well. So back into our project, here we've now configured the project. What we can now do is, if there's any approval that needs to be done, we can submit it for approval. However, there is no approval needed. One thing that's done is allowed us to generate our estimate doc. And this estimate doc is a form that can go out to our customers. So let's very quickly generate that estimate doc. And here I can choose my estimate proposal right here. So let's select that, click on next. And what we're now doing is we are generating an estimate document, which is taking all of the data from this quote. So it gives us the project estimate name, all of the details will be populated in here. So we have the planning phase, the value, and it'll all be broken down by project resource. So we can now send that to our customer. Once we've sent that out to our customer and the customer has actually accepted it, what we can do, let's mark that as accepted. While that's accepting, the next thing that you'll see is we can actually generate an SOW document. Now the SOW, we're expecting to go through a backwards and forwards lining session with the customer. So let's generate this SOW document. Now what that's done is it's taken us into the Salesforce CLM tool. So we can generate our document. So select the template, we are going to select our SOW, and we're then going to generate that document. Okay, so that document is going to be generated, and then we can go into our backwards and forwards redlining negotiation session with the customer. I'm just going to take it through the process. I'm not going to go through the redlining process on this demo, but as you check in the document, you can then check out the SOW, you send it over to the client can then make any amendments or redline, you check it in, you can either accept those changes or make changes, reissue that document. So we'll just mark this as being in an approval process. The next thing it will go on to then being is negotiated. Once you've sent it out to the customer, you're awaiting signature. And then the final part of that will be the document being signed, coming back in, and then actually activating this contract. So from a sales perspective, that's the end of the demo. And we would then move into an order, creating the order. We then create a project. And from the project, we can go into the actual billing of those milestones. Thanks for watching.